This is another one of those special cases where a movie is so shitty that I don't want to put it on the moist meter because I really want to dive in and spread the cheeks apart even further and really get into the meat of what makes this fucking movie so bad. Like I did with Cats, I'm about to do it with The Grudge, the new Grudge that just came out. I get that it's January. January is when all the movie studios just collectively dump fucking hemorrhoids on the cinema screens, and they're all bad movies for the most part. But The Grudge is something a little bit special. I saw it with Jackson 2 days ago, and I felt so embarrassed. He's visiting from Australia, he's vacationing in America, and I show him The Grudge in theaters. I thought he was going to pack up and leave that moment. He probably would have rather been deported than finish that movie. It is a bad movie. The Grudge is horrible. And I also think The Grudge as a franchise is super fucking weak. I think it's not good. The only good Grudge movie is the original one, and it's not even good. It's only decent. It's okay. It's not great. But every movie that's come after has just been abominable. Especially the 2016 Grudge vs. The Ring. They did like a Freddy vs. Jason style movie with the Grudge and the Ring character. It was a Japanese release that I watched, and it was absolutely atrocious. But that movie, The Grudge vs. The Ring, was comically bad, so it was at least enjoyable in that respect. You know, when the little kid Grudge was coming around, he actually made cat sound effects. There's a scene where a woman headbutts a man so hard that his face turns into a fish, literally transmogrifies a human being's face into a fish because he got headbutted so fucking hard. It's a goofy, silly movie that's bad, like all Grudge movies, but again, that was comically bad. The new Grudge is so boringly, insultingly, offensively bad and bland that I just need to really talk about it and warn you about how shitty the goddamn movie is. Also, I love that old movie trend of taking one character, making them fight another popular character, Alien vs. Predator, Freddy vs. Jason, shit like that. It's so goofy. I love it. I hope they keep doing it, you know, fucking mix different genres. John Wick versus Mr. Bean. I want to get that out there. That is just some really fun stuff. All bad movies, but always enjoyable. But The Grudge, 2020. It is potentially going to be the worst horror movie of the year, if not one of the worst movies of the year, and let me explain why. Well, the first problem is it relies entirely on jump scares, as you'd expect from a modern horror movie, but it can't do that very well because the movie, as it is currently, has an audio issue, where during the jump scares, the audio actually gets quieter. Now, if you're familiar with horror movies, and I'm sure most of you are, or at least jump scares at the very least, if you've fucking played Five Nights at Freddy on your elementary school's computer at some point, you understand what a jump scare is. Things get loud, it goes woo, makes you kind of go, whoa, that was loud and startling. That's how a jump scare is supposed to work, but in The Grudge, it doesn't do that. Instead of getting loud, it's actually kind of like a lullaby. You'll see it coming because it's going to be really tense, you know. Music goes out, there's no sound effects, it's just ambient noise, total quiet, darkness, silence, and then all of a sudden, like a whisper, and that's the jump scare. It is weird. Like, I've never seen that because, you know, that's what most modern horror movies rely on, and for some reason they fucked it up so badly that the audio just doesn't play properly. It's like it's being strangled by the Grudge character. It's like, no, we're not letting audio into this movie. When there's jump scare, the audio sounds like it's being farted through a walkie-talkie. So the jump scares won't even startle you, not even by accident, because they're so quiet you won't even register it as a jump scare, which is very unique, and maybe even a directorial decision, a very avant-garde design choice. I'm not sure, but it fucking sucks. The story is garbage. It doesn't even really pay respect to the original in any good way. It doesn't even use the main character from the original Grudge movies, the staple character. It relies entirely on a new little girl character, and it's so boring. The movie is structured in a way where in this house the Grudge is existing in, people are dying there constantly, but no one's ever really connecting the dots as to why or what's going on. So the movie is structured around a detective going in the house and getting the curse put upon her, and she starts digging in. So then the movie follows the stories that she's reading about in the reports, and the stories aren't very good. It's one chunk with these people, one chunk with another group, and then one chunk with fucking old Pop Wiggleberry's chorus who walked into the house by accident when their soccer ball got kicked over. It's really amateur rookie stories, you know, here's people that enter the house, and now here's how they died and why, and it just shows you that. But it doesn't contribute to the overall plot because the character you're supposed to be following is just reading about them. She's just reading fanfic about what the fuck happened in this house. Nothing contributes to the story, it just gives you a little background on what happened at that house at some point. And all of it's supposed to be used as scares. Primarily the movie's relying on, hey, this is supposed to be scary and you're supposed to care about these characters that have no real place in the overarching plot. and you never do because they're not well written and they're not interesting and their stories kind of suck. But that's where the movie spends the majority of its time, in these reports that she's reading. Then she'll take like a little coffee break, a little piss break, take a shit, and then you get, her seeing some scary shit because she's hallucinating bad things, and then she goes right back into reading those stories, so you're back to those uninteresting characters and that fucking old, reports that you don't care about. There's also a massive plot hole with the entire movie that throws the whole thing out of whack. So the whole deal with the Grudge 2020 is anyone that enters the house of the Landers, I believe their name is. I'm already fucking forgetting the characters because it's such a bland, forgettable, shitty movie. But whoever enters that cursed house gets the curse. And the problem is that doesn't happen. It doesn't follow its own rules. So every time someone died in that house, people investigated. The cops went in, they got the bodies out, they took forensic samples, they searched around, and all of these cops go into that house, but only one person at a time gets the curse, when that was never established. It's supposed to be anyone that goes into that house gets the curse, but for some reason the cops are above that law. So all the cops that keep going into this house for forensics and shit never get cursed. Only ever one person from that group, and it just happens to be the girl you follow, and then there was another cop in the past that she looks into. But it has a massive plot hole because half of the fucking police department, the whole police force should be cursed right now, and all of them should be losing their goddamn mind about it. But that's not the case. And I know when you go to a horror movie like this, you're not supposed to think very hard, but it's hard to overlook that detail when it beats that shit to death. Like, go into that house, you're getting fucked in the ass. Unless you're a cop and you have a lot of numbers, because then the Grudge is scared of that. They don't want to get arrested with a fucking speeding ticket or something. It just doesn't make sense. And the biggest, most silly part of this movie is the ending. Again, I'm going into spoilers real quick. The ending ends with, I guess, what's supposed to be a shocking ending. So the solution she comes up with to beat the Grudge is something a 3-year-old could have sniffed out and anyone in the theater knew it was coming. She decides to burn the house down that has the Grudge curse put upon it. And surprise, it doesn't work. But the end of the movie makes you believe it works. She moves out. She goes to a new house, new home. Her kid's going away to school. And as she hugs her kid, she realizes it's not her kid, it's the Grudge. And then the Grudge lady pulls her away and kills her as the camera pans out to the outside of the house. That's how the movie ends. And then it just stays there for 5 minutes, making you think something else is going to happen, but nothing ever does. It's terrible. It's terrible. I guess it was going for like this huge twist, like, ha! The fire didn't actually work because it's never worked in a horror movie, you fool. And we pulled her away and fucked her off camera. Like, it's just a dumb ending, and the theater erupted into laughter when they yanked the girl away from the kid by the hair. It was so fucking dumb and poorly done. The whole movie was. And I haven't really dove into everything that makes it bad because the main parts is that it can't even do its jump scares properly because there's a huge fucking glitch with it apparently. I guess they were speed running a horror movie and forgot to make sure the audio levels were correct, or they just didn't pay the audio engineer so he fucked them by lowering the volume. But it's just so bland because nothing comes together and works. And I feel like the director is talented because there are some times where I was like, it's kind of a cool shot and a decent idea, but it's just so poorly done and translated into the movie. Also, half of the characters, more than half, 90% of the characters are utterly useless in the overall plot of the narrative. There's an example, to give an example, there's a fucking detective who's supposed to be like this main strict-ass detective. I'm not going in that house because it smells like ass, and I don't like the smell of ass. I don't trust the smell of ass. I don't go in that house. So he doesn't get cursed, and he's supposed to be the rock to the girl who did go in the house and get cursed. So she keeps confiding in him all these things, and he's like, he's always smoking a cigarette, and he's just, some scary shit. That's his whole role in the movie, but they keep going back to him, and he never does anything. He never helps the girl. He never does anything for the girl, and eventually the girl just takes it into her own hands and you never see the detective again. He does nothing. Totally useless, but from the very beginning of the movie you felt like the detective was supposed to have a big role in this. He was supposed to help her or do something in the film, but he doesn't. He never does. And that's half the characters in this movie. It's just nothing works in it. It's a bad, bland, extremely boring horror movie. And I really do think it's going to be tough for any movie to be worse than The Grudge this year, which is crazy because the year just started. But I'm excited. Maybe we'll see like a Cats 2 come out of nowhere in the summer or something. I don't know. But it's a shitty movie, and I just wanted to really dive into it. I'll give you a moist meter rating. I'll give The Grudge 2020 a 10%. It's fucking bad. That's it. See ya.